Hello, my lords and ladies, and welcome to another episode of Painting with Nerd Knights. I'm your host, Nerd Knight, and today we are painting some Zodgrod Wortsnagga. Yeah, what do they think of this stuff? A decently long video. This has got a lot of stuff going on, but it does look good in the end. I want to say, first off, thank you all my YouTube members. Can't thank you guys enough. You guys help support this channel because these do take a lot of time. And I messed this video up. It got corrupted. I had to redo it. Second time we're doing it. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the follow, or not, whatever. Just follow along, or leave me a comment. That's cool too. But without further ado, while we're in the middle of this base color part 1, let's go. Obviously, the first thing you're doing with any Warhammer miniature, unless you got somebody else who's cool, wants to build the stuff for you, because that does take a ton of time, you got to build your miniature. And you got to glue it down to your little base. And that's what I did. Well, and then I did an airbrush of all in black. Now, full disclosure here, I had built this miniature, I'm not kidding, probably about 3 years ago. And it has been sitting on my desk, staring at it, collected dust. I had to brush all the dust off. It had so much on. Yeah. So we got to it. I'm happy with it. But yeah, all of the skin area with some Orruk Flesh. Alright. There is a cape that Wortsnagga. I don't even know if this guy's good in the game. I couldn't even tell you. Is he worth it? Does anybody know if they're playing Orcs in 40k right now? Is this guy worth it, or did I just completely waste? I didn't waste because I really enjoyed painting this and I liked it. But is he good? I don't know. Maybe somebody can answer that for me. Anyways, we're gonna use some Naggaroth Night on the cape around Wortsnagga. And I know the shot's really bad right here. I don't know why it's so unfocused. But the right, if you're staring on down from the top, the right shoulder pad is metallic, and we're going to do some grace here on it. Now, if you're looking at the art by Warhammer, you'll notice that there's a bunch of red writing. There is no physical way, if you built your miniature and you are trying to paint that writing onto that shoulder pad, that you would be able to do it at this stage. There's no way. There's no way. So it's just going to be blank. We're going to spruce it up a little bit later, but man, it makes me mad when I see that. I'm like, well, I didn't notice that. Anyways, the hair, Thunderhawk Blue. So make sure you get those tiny little strands that go all the way down to the bottom as you hear me rant about certain things. Alright, there are two areas with the yellow. Now, yellow really sucks to paint with, on top of black, because you need multiple layers. But we're doing it anyway. And we're doing Averland Sunset. So the first portion is the little design on the front of the cape, and then there's one on the backpack. But we're going to hit that backpack later if you don't do it right now. If you don't specifically know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. We got two wooden sticks, one for this cloth thing, and then one on the back of our Wortsnagga. And one of two things: either leave all these paints out or use a wet palette, because this is I don't do too bad here, but there's a lot of spots. So for this little cord, we're going to use Mephiston Red. And then for the other cords, you'll notice there's a lot of cords going on. There's hoses and cords and, 550 cord, dummy tape, whatever they got going on. We're going to use some Macragge Blue. Couple areas with this color. So Ionrach Skin. I know this isn't skin, but we're trying to match the box art as best as we can. So we're going to use this on the backpack. Now the backpack is where the other yellow portion is in the middle, so try not to get that. There's also a portion on the foot of Wortsnagga that is the wrap that we're going to do as well, and then a couple pieces on to the side with our claw machine and the top portion of that. Now we're going to go back to the Macragge Blue in the same exact areas. There's the tube underneath the coil, and then in between the coil, don't worry, we're going to clean that up here in a little bit as well. And like I had mentioned earlier, the middle spot in the backpack with Averland Sunset. Alright, for the hook, like leather area, we're going to use some Thondia Brown. And this is kind of the problem with the miniature. It's not a problem, it's just the tedious portion is there's a lot of little things here and there that don't take a lot of paint, but you got to do it, so it just takes time, and you got to go back. Oh, I missed this spot, or I can use that color for here. That's with these miniatures that have so much stuff going on with it. They look cool when they're done, but it does take a lot of time to work on them. And like I had said earlier, this Mephiston Red in the mouth of Wortsnagga. Okay, all right. Now we've moved on to another big, tedious portion, and that is the metallics. So there is a lot of metallics. Now, for the most part, just follow along with this portion, and you should be just fine on where to go and what to do. The only really areas that I don't paint this Leadbelcher on are obviously where I'm going to do the bronze areas. And then the claw area where the two claws connect, the little joint in the middle, I ended up doing that into a bronze that we'll see here in a little bit, but again, just follow along. And if you feel like you've missed a spot with the Leadbelcher, I guarantee you probably have, because I know I did. And we're going to go back to the Leadbelcher here in a minute, because I know I missed spots, and I realized I missed spots, and I said, oh man, I missed so many spots, I got to film some more. So yeah, that's where I'm at in my life. Alright, the other tedious portion, we're going to use some Balthasar Gold, and there is a lot of little intricacies that have this gold area. So there's a lot on the backpack. There's the little nubs on the hatchet, claw, machine stick with the tubes hanging out. You know what I'm talking about. On top of the foot, the metallic foot. and whatnot. So again, just follow along. I do a pretty decent job, I think, of just hitting the areas where you need to paint, showing you where you need to go, moving on. Okay, you need to paint this area, you need to paint that area, so on and so forth. So again, just follow along. And like I said, I totally forgot I need to paint the gun. Why would I? Why wouldn't I remember that? I don't know. Maybe I'll just keep it black. It's fine. No big deal. So yeah, I gotta paint the gun with some lead belcher. Pretty simple. I did do there's a couple little parts at the bottom. I end up doing Warplock Bronze that you'll see here in the next section. I don't really think it makes a difference. I try and match the box art, so it is what it is, but I feel like you could just paint the rest of it in silver and be completely fine. Nobody would ever notice. Nobody. Only you would know. And if that's going to bother you, then just go with the next step. And like I just mentioned with the Warplock Bronze, I do this for the claw junction area on the claw sticks poker destruction thing. I don't even know what you call that. And then for the actual two claws themselves, I'm going to use some Iron Warriors. I like to use the darker ones for this to make a little bit of contrast. And then we are down to our last color here in a second for the base paint. And all we're doing is doing some Cadian Fleshtone on that bottom lip. You can also really just paint your teeth with a Cadian Fleshtone if you haven't done it so far. It's fine. We're going to go over it in a little bit. You're not even going to notice. It's not the focal point. Nobody's staring at it. Oh man, your tooth's Cadian Fleshtone. This thing sucks. No, nobody's going to say that, so whatever. Alright, we're moving on to step 2. I won't even say this isn't even battle ready. This looks like complete trash. You know what I mean? It's got all our base colors on there. We're fine. All the Orc Skin, Athnian Camoshade. If you notice in the box art, it looks like it's more Belil green. I didn't like that, so I switched it up. I know, but it's up to you. I like the more greenish, dark, earthy looking orcs than the other ones. But yeah, it's up to you. For the her, we're going to do some Drakenhof Nightshade. Just put that in the hair. If you want to mix a little bit of Nulin Oil in there, you can. I didn't. I just did straight out of the Drakenhof Nightshade pot. It's up to you. The purple areas, just be cognizant of that yellow with some Druchi Violet, so don't be drinking too much and slosh it all over the place and just, oh man, my yellow looks like crap. Just be careful because yellow is the hardest. Yellow and white are the worst colors to paint by far, not even close. No holds bar. No competition. All right, for the browns and bronzes, real simple. It doesn't get any more simple than this, except for the next scene that you'll see is the Nulin Oil. So metallics, Nulin Oil, browns and bronzes, Agrax Earthsahde. If you want to throw some Agrax Earthsahde onto the yellows, absolutely do that as well. You need to put it on the Ionrach Skin areas. You need to do that. And yeah. You can throw a little bit in the mouth, too, for the teeth. The Cadian Fleshtone teeth that no one's going to like because everyone's going to know it's Cadian Fleshtone. If you would like, but that's up to you. We're going to start off with the, in my opinion, besides the hair, I think the hair is kind of the big focal point. The eyes. We're going to paint those white eye sockets, and then you can throw a little bit of Athnian Camoshade in that socket, and it's going to dull down that green. I think it makes it blend in pretty well. And then we are going to throw some of that Baal Red in that white socket. And the reason why we do this is because that white just gives it that subtle stick through, and you can kind of see that white. That's why I do that, but it's up to you. All right, and moving on to the skin, we are going to do a reapplication of our Orruk Flesh. Now, you might notice that when we're painting with, the regular paints on top of black, it does take a considerable more time because you got to do more layers compared to if you're painting on white and you are doing contrast paints where you just kind of smack it on. You're like, I'm moving on to the next one. Where this thing's flying? They both have their good qualities or bad qualities, but you gotta know how to do both. You gotta be able to be versatile in this. So on this Orruk Flesh, we're going to do the raised areas. Do not get any into the recesses. Again, do not get any into the recesses. Once you're satisfied with that Orruk Flesh, we are going to do some Ogryn Camo over the same exact areas. Again, don't get into the recesses. We are going to highlight it up here in a second, but this is your second layer. This is when things start popping out and sticking up and looking good and looking fine. You're saying, man, I'm a really good painter. I'm getting good. Friends think I'm cool. My neighbor wants to be me. Whatever. But yeah, we're almost there. And then as a final highlight on our skin over those same areas, make sure your paint is thin. I swear if you're painting it straight out of the pot, oh, I know people that do it. They don't listen. They don't listen. Krieg Khaki, again, over those same areas. Really focus on those knuckles, the fingers, the areas the sun would hit, if there is such thing as a sun in Warhammer 40k on a deserted planet where you're battling aliens. I don't know. Really focus on that forehead, the nose, the cheekbones when you can get it, and then that left arm. That hand. I'm losing my voice already. And then the forearm as well. All right, the skin and the hair are what people are going to stare at, not your Cadian Fleshtone tooth. What am I doing? I am painting about 50% of each strand of hair. So I'm not doing the entire thing. I'm keeping it, part of it, dark blue, but for the most part, if you're staring at the miniature from the front, those strands of hair will turn into Russ Grey. Now we're going to do a layer of Russ Grey, and you probably need 2 layers of Russ Grey because this blue is very transparent is the word I'm looking for. Thank you. And you really just want to focus on maybe some edge highlighting for those smaller pieces. You don't need to do the whole thing, and just making sure that your hair is blue, but you can still see the dark blue underneath. There is no right or wrong way to do this. If you want to paint all of the hair in this blue and keep the roots, like our Wortsnagga had dyed it because he was going to a Led Zeppelin concert type look, that's cool too. Whatever you want to do, I'm all about it. Now this is a better look of what I did. You can see that it is mostly in the front painted with the blue, and then you can see the dark blue from behind it. So about 50% of each hair is the blue, or the lighter blue of the Russ Grey. Now with the Fenrisian Grey, I am doing some edge highlighting, building up that little bit of tips with it. And we're going to do another color here in a second because this one you can see, but you can't see great. So we're going to spruce it up here in a second, doing the same exact thing with some Administratum Grey. Now this is a more obviously lighter gray, but we went from dark blue to very light blue, which all have gray tones, to lighter blue, to kind of a grayish with a blue tint to it. So this gives you that highlight step. And again, this is the kind of the focal point of the miniature, the hair, the crazy hair, and then the skin as well. All right, for the hide, we're going to use some Daemonette Hide. And all I'm really doing with this is hitting some of these buttons, and I'm trying to do an edge highlight, and I messed it up. I knew I messed it up. God, I messed it up. You can see it got too thick, and I was already committed. I was pot committed. I was done. I was toast. I was cooked, whatever you want to say, but do a better job than I did. So I just went over some of the splotches in there. I tried to do some edge highlighting to give it that purple. You don't really notice it. It's not that big of a deal. I just don't like to make mistakes like that. All right, all of the areas that you went over with Ionrach Skin, just go over the same areas again. Just don't get into the recesses. Do the raised areas. Take your time on this, especially on the backpack. The backpack does look really good once you have it highlighted, but there's also some depth to it, if you know what I mean. All right, for our yellow two pieces on the front and the back, we're going to take some Yriel Yellow and just kind of highlight them up. For the staples that are in the front little yellow area, I did end up painting those with some Leadbelcher later down the road. I don't know if I filmed it or not because I looked at it after I was done with it going, why didn't I paint this? That's not what it's supposed to be. So yeah. So you can do that now, or if you don't remember, you can do it later. If you do remember, you can do it later. That's what I meant. Now, if you're looking at the box art, when I looked at this, I just kind of cringed, saying, "Oh God, I hate doing these things because I mess it up every time." We're trying to make a yellow and black cord. If you're looking at the card art or box art or online art, and you just kind of do your best job to guess. All right, put a stripe here, stripe there, stripe here, and go down the line and do as good as you can. The hard part is you got to go over it a couple times because it's black or yellow over black. So that's kind of the pain. But if you don't want to do it, just don't do it. All right, for our wooden sticks, we're just going to do some squiggly lines on that wood. That's all we're doing, some Baneblade Brown. Nothing crazy. For the red areas that we did with the Mephiston Red, we're just going to brighten up just a little bit with the Evil Sun Scarlet. Again, nothing crazy. And we're going to do the same thing to the blue hoses that we did earlier with some Hoeth Blue to make them a little bit more blue brightness. Again, super easy. Don't go crazy with it. It's not a focal point. It's not nothing. Now, I originally spray painted this in black. I didn't go over the pants in any type of black. I just said YOLO. Let's just give it some sprucing. So I'm just going to give some edge highlighting, some little bit of like slashes and straight lines across the pants with some Dawnstone. Again, you don't notice it that much because the hair and like you're not staring at this. I mean, the people that really inspect your stuff with a microscope might see it, but I just kind of spruce it up just a little bit. All right, over your Cadian Fleshtone teeth that everybody notices, we're going to use some Screaming Skull. Nobody notices. But they will notice that lip. We're just going to take a little bit of a couple lines in Cadian Fleshtone. And then just a couple more on top of those lines of the Cadian Fleshtone or the Flayed One Flesh. Now, this does match the box art, and that's sort of the look I was going for. Orc with humanoid flesh at the lip. This is very common for orcs and painting them, so yeah. All right, folks, we are getting there. We're almost done. I know. We're doing some Brass Scorpion over all of our brass areas. We're only doing some edge highlighting on the Warplock Bronze areas with Brass Scorpion, if that makes any sense. I'll show you here in a second. But every brass area that we painted with the regular brass, we're doing with Brass Scorpion. Edge highlighting on the Warplock Bronze. That's it. That's all there is to it. For our metallics, we're just going over with Leadbelcher. I didn't want to overpower it with Ruinfang Steel. I felt like I wanted to keep the metallics a little dirty, so I just redid an application of Leadbelcher. If you want to brighten it up and do Ruinfang Steel, you absolutely can. I just feel like it's too bright. I'm just, 40k does not seem like, unless it's a bright miniature, to me this is more dull. So I'm keeping it as a dull metallic look. Alright, I for some reason didn't film this portion, but what I did is I did some Astro Granite around the rim. I took some XV88 and painted the rock. And then we are using some Agrax Earthsahde on the rock. I know that was a lot. Oh, and Black Legion. On top of the Astro Granite and the rim of the base. Yeah, I really messed that portion up. My fault. And then when it says dry, just do a dry brush of Dawnstone and Gray Seer if you would like. But it's up to you. But that was the favorite part of painting a miniature because the miniature done. And this is what it turned into. This little mini took some time. But it is off my desk after years of me staring at it and wondering, when am I going to paint this? That is a good feeling. I can't express how good it is to get the gray off your desk and really get through it. I have 3 more that are sitting there that I was planning on painting last week. I didn't get to them in time. So now I got to stare at them even longer because we got other stuff we got to do, like Elden Ring. We got to do some Aeon Trespass. There's new Warhammer, the new Warhammer quest that's coming out. There's so much stuff going on. Yeah, so we got more painting to do than we probably have days available to us. But we're going to figure it out one miniature at a time. Again, I want to say thank you to everybody who watches this, especially the YouTube members. If you are not a subscriber and you would like to subscribe, hit it. Or if you just enjoy me running my mouth for 35 minutes, that is cool too. All right, I love you all, and I will see you on the next one. All right, paint town.